What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's a Dynasty Show on Tuesday night. Just me tonight. Hammer's busy, so he's not able to get on. So you got me, and we're just doing some Q&A tonight. I mean, there's nothing really specifically I wanted to kind of go over. I don't know if people still have startups right now in Dynasty. I know we're kind of more in the redraft portion right now, so a lot of redraft stuff that's going on. Dynasty leagues a little bit dead at the moment as far as moves being made, unless y'all got moves that y'all making. I mean, what kind of trades are y'all trying to get into? Throw them in the chat. Let's talk about them. But Daniel Berry, what up? What's goody, man? Derek, always in the building. What up, Derek? Yeah, smash that like, smash that subscribe if you're new. Throw any questions you have in the chat. I had just finished up a dynasty draft, actually. Literally just finished our second follower league, and it's been going. It actually didn't take that long. It was maybe like a week. Slow draft, obviously, 8 hours, and then we cut it to 4 hours at some point. Then we cut it to 2 hours the last few rounds. But I will. Let me see if let me pull this up. I'll pull up the draft, and we can go through it together. All right, here we go. So I was in the 4 slot here. I wound up trading my 6th-round pick for a first and another pick somewhere. 17 maybe. Or maybe it was sooner, but I wound up trading it anyway. But anyway, wound up just taking a first-round pick there in that 6th spot, but wound up taking Hurts and Murray. Like Kyler fell all the way to the 2-9, which was crazy. So easily took Kyler with my 2nd-round pick. 3rd-round reversal. So on the comeback, went with Neighbors in London, grabbed me one of those elite tight ends and Andrews with the 1.5 tight end premium. Went with some young guys and Keon Coleman, Trey Benson, just for some kind of value. And then hit a couple vets with Kamara, Deontay Johnson, Geno Smith, because I feel like, I can try and maybe compete a little bit this year, but I don't have to go all in. But getting some value with some of the vets in those late rounds. So we'll see kind of, how it goes there. Getting Geno as my 3rd QB, so I'm safe. Took a bunch of other backup QBs, so I've got a bunch of guys that I might be able to trade away for some picks during the season if there are some QB injuries that happen. You got Jacoby Brissett, who right now looks like he's going to be the starter going out there. Drew Lock, we don't know how long Daniel Jones is going to last before they just wind up throwing Lock out there. If Jones is that bad, Kenny Pickett, just because I do have Jalen Hurts. So if Jalen Hurts goes down, at least I've got Kenny Pickett that I can throw in there. Jameis Winston, if something goes and happens with Watson, which guys continuously getting hurt now, so you never know. And Carson Wentz with the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, if he goes down, Wentz is stepping right in. He's got some good weapons out there. And then Mike White, because we never know what's going to happen with Tua. If he gets another concussion, at least you've got now the backup quarterback, and now you can try and stack up some of those 2nd-round picks, 3rd-round picks, 4th-round picks for some of these quarterbacks when people need them. Because as we know, in Superflex leagues, you are going to need a quarterback at some point, or somebody's going to at least need a quarterback at some point. So having a bunch of backup quarterbacks and backup running backs on your bench, having a good, roster construction. I didn't really take too many wide receivers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I took 5, 6, 7. I wound up taking 8 wide receivers, but I'm not clogging my whole bench with a bunch of wide receivers. I'd rather clog the bench with some quarterbacks and some running backs where, it might be 1 game, 2 games. It might be a little short stint of games that some of these guys play. And now I'm able to move some of these guys for some picks instead of just kind of clogging my roster with some of these wide receivers down here. It just doesn't make as much sense for me. So I'm just stacking. So wound up with a pretty good draft. I mean, I'm pretty happy about it. And we'll see what happens with injuries going into the season. But I've got 2 stud quarterbacks in Hurts and Kyler. So I'm comfortable. And I feel like with those quarterbacks, like I can try and piece around a team around those 2 guys with, building around them with some young wide receivers like Neighbors and London, right? Coleman, if he winds up hitting, got one of the elite tight ends in Andrews. So like I've got some pieces that I can kind of build around. I've got an extra first round pick now in 2025. So what can I do with that? Can I add that to, a wide receiver? Can I tier up? Right. Again, my quarterbacks are kind of set, so I'm not looking to make any moves at quarterback. But now, can I start, making some moves, tearing up, either during the season or maybe after the season? We'll see what happens with Coleman. We'll see what happens with Benson and his value. Right, because I love to try and build around the wide receivers, but Benson I felt like was a good, value piece at that point with some of the wide receivers on the board. Where if Connor does get hurt or if Connor's not there next year, like the value is going to shoot up for Benson, and now I have an opportunity to kind of piece him together with something else, put together some kind of package to now go after another wide receiver. Caps, what up, Caps? Kev, what up, Kev? Putting in that work. Yeah, I mean, we're in that redraft season now, so I think I've got one more redraft league to do, and then it's just all kind of we're back to the season. So Tuesday's always the Dynasty Show. That doesn't change. And every once in a while, I'll hop on, with the shot callers on their channel, and then we stream to my channel as well. We just cover some redraft stuff as well. So Benson is good value. Yeah, I liked Benson there. I wound up taking Kamara because I feel like some of the guys in this league like value some of these older guys. And if I'm trying to compete a little bit, like Kamara will help me now. And if I'm not, for whatever reason during the middle of the season, as long as Kamara's not hurt, I should be able to move him for, at least a second or a second plus, depending how many points, Kamara scoring. Is he still scoring 17 points per game like he was last year? Or, does that drop off a little bit? So we'll see what I can get him. Just got done watching ESPN draft on TV, and either they know something we don't, or they're just high as hell. Yeah. Yeah, man. So, what's going on in that draft? Let me know what's happening. But yeah, fantasy football is here. I mean, those guys are guessing just like we are. I mean, it's no different from what we're doing here. They're just on a bigger stage, obviously. But got revenge on my mind. Second highest scoring team in the league. It had 5 wins. Yeah, that happens sometimes. That happened to me in a few leagues last year where my points were up there, but my points against were just like ridiculous, where people were just scoring so many points every time they played me. And that's going to happen sometimes. That's the thing with fantasy. That's the beautiful thing about fantasy, where it's kind of, unpredictable. Sometimes it's a little bit, it's there's luck to it, right? So there's a lot that goes into it. But this is how this draft went. We saw a lot of quarterbacks go early. By the 3-4, like that was it. All the quarterbacks were pretty much taken off the board there. And then you've got after that, like that next tier of guys of, Deshaun Watson and May and McCarthy and Bryce Young and Baker and all those guys. So a lot of the quarterbacks went really early. Especially at the top, very, very top heavy on some of the quarterbacks. This is a 6 point per passing touchdown. You do get like an extra couple points if you throw for over 300 yards. So that kind of puts a little bit of an emphasis on the quarterback, more on the quarterbacks as well, even with the super flex. So, but some running backs went early. Then, big wide receiver run went. At tight end, like, I'm good with waiting on like Ferguson, I guess. But the biggest thing with Ferguson is what happens when that contract is up in 2 years. Do they wind up having the money to even resign him, or does he wind up going somewhere else? So I kind of really want to get one of those elite tight ends. And if I'm gonna wait on tight end, like it's gonna be for like TJ Hawkinson. Like, if I'm gonna wait on tight end, can I grab TJ Hawkinson? And still be able to make a couple picks before that without having to go, the Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, Kincaid route. So AR5 was the first QB off the board, 33rd overall by Shefty. Yeah, I mean, that is a little early, I guess, for A-Rich, but yeah, and you're betting on him too. Like you're taking him at the ceiling, like at that point. You're taking him at the ceiling. Can you wait? Like one of my favorite things to do is in redraft, especially, is kind of just wait for quarterback. Like, can I draft Jaden Daniels in the 8th, 9th round, and then follow that up with like a Tua or a Jared Goff or a Trevor Lawrence, one of those guys, just for the security, and at least you'll be okay if Jaden Daniels doesn't work out for whatever reason. But if he does, like, you might have a top 5 upside kind of quarterback. So like, I wouldn't want to take AR5 up there. I haven't drafted any AR5, and I wouldn't. It just doesn't make sense. Like, yes, he's got the potential, but number one, I'm not taking him early. Like, there's no reason to take him that early. But anyway, going back to the dynasty part of this, a lot of running backs fell as well. Like, a lot of wide receivers went in that 3rd, 4th, 5th round, where there were, still some decent running back guys to take in the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds there. Michael Penix wound up going in the 8th. I wanted to take him in the 9th or the 10th, on this comeback that was coming back around to me, where I took Kamara and Deontay. I wanted to take Michael Penix there, but he wound up going around earlier, where I went Trey Benson instead. Like, I could have went Penix there, but I felt like it was still a little early. I felt like I might have had a chance, to wait on him, but somebody wound up taking him, so it was good on them. Derek, what up, Derek? They said the Bengals defense was bored of the Colts offense in joint scrimmage practice today. Yeah, well, I mean, you got to think, like, Anthony Richardson is still a rookie. Like, he didn't play a lot last year at all. So there's a lot still that he needs to learn. He was never an accurate quarterback, so that's not suddenly all of a sudden just going to change now, that he's back from injury, that he's going to be more accurate. So there's a lot that he still needs to do in process, especially in that offense. And he didn't have a rookie season, so he doesn't have a whole season under his belt where he kind of learned a lot. So I can see him being very inaccurate, and them not really being able to move the football, and that being kind of frustrating for that offense. But you do have JT, so you can use that to kind of take some of the pressure off of AR, right? You got Michael Pittman as well. So can we, get the ball out early and quick, set up some easy passes, just get the offense flowing, because he definitely has the potential. But again, there's a lot. We're going to see some bad plays from Anthony Richardson. We're going to. They haven't happened yet, but it's just a matter of time, because he just hasn't played enough. So yeah, I'd rather just wait on a guy like Jaden Daniels. So Jaden Daniels in this draft wound up going at the 2-5. So relatively early. Like I'm taking Kyler before Jaden Daniels, but you can make the argument for Jaden Daniels right there. Kind of. I mean, Purdy, I felt like was a little early too. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's right. You could say Jaden Daniels like early to late second, depending on the league. Do you want to go him over Kyler? Like that's a question. Do you go Jaden Daniels or do you go Kyler Murray? I'll still take Kyler because he's the proven guy. He's given us, top 10 seasons. He's now has a couple weapons on his team. So like I'll still go with Kyler. Like I don't want to, there's no reason to take the risk on Jaden Daniels if you don't have to. So yeah, I felt that was a little there. I mean, Tyreek Hill going at the end of the second, that was early for me too. That's just way too early. I'm probably taking some of these other guys. Like I can see Cheetah maybe after AJ Brown for me. Go and put up a shit ton of points, but and he just is just that good. Like, does he go for 2,000 yards? I mean, but you are giving up a lot of age, especially early, early in the draft. Like this team doesn't seem like they have a lot of youth, a lot of value. Like you might have good points for this particular season, but Jackson, what up, Jackson? What's good, man? You got your redraft going on. We could talk some redraft here too. I mean, whatever y'all got going on. But yeah, how's the redraft going? Do you have your drafts already? Dynasty also, have you had any drafts lately? Do you have any that are coming up? Let me know what y'all got going on and what questions you got. Drafted last night. Okay. Yeah, a lot more people are drafting as we're getting, shit closer and closer to the season. So, what pick did you have and how did it wind up going? Team is in shambles mentally. I had the 1-1. Okay, so what happened? What happened? Who'd you take? Was it CMC? iDub, what up, iDub? What's goody, my man? Finishing up my home league 1 QB rookie draft. Dynasty rookie draft. Okay. What pick did you have? And what you got going on? Who'd you take or what trades did you make? I noticed that too. There are some leagues that do their rookie drafts really, really late. They're waiting more towards the season to start for that. Which is fine, but it kind of takes out the element of, kind of doing your homework a little bit earlier on. It takes the thrill out of that. It's been a long summer. It has been, but listen, we're back. We are back. We've got dynasty content, we've got redraft content. Make sure you guys are following on Instagram as well. Let me put the Instagram in the chat. And then I'll also put the Discord in the chat as well. So right now, I think I just have Dynasty in the Discord, but I'm going to put like a start sit section as well. So for redraft, you guys can get in that also. How do I? Oh, never mind. All right, Instagram is in the chat, so make sure you guys are following there, and then I'll also put the Discord up there as well in a minute. Mystic, what up, Mystic? Did a 16 team. Oh, damn. 16 team super flex. That is wild. Start 11 also. Okay. So 2-point tight end premium, 6-point per passing touchdown. Damn. From the 110 spot, ended up with Burrow and Dak. Okay. That's pretty awesome considering it's a 16 team and it's a start 11. So I really like that. I really like that start, at least with your QBs. London, Pittman, DK, Rashid, Kirk, Pollard, Schultz, Elliott, Russell Wilson. Okay, have all my picks. I like it. I like it, especially like the quarterbacks and Drake London. So you have at least, your quarterbacks in place. You've got some young guys to build around. It is a start 11 and it is a 16 team. So the draft picks are going to be a lot more valuable. The quarterbacks are going to be a lot more valuable. And even some of those stud players, like, can you split London in two? Like, can you split London you know, into a Devonta Smith and Tank Dell or some shit like that? You know what I mean? Because of how deep it is, I'm more inclined to not be in love with having some of those, having some of the elite players that we like to get, the JJs and Chases and CDs. Like, I'm okay with splitting those guys into 2-3 pieces when you're in a deep league like this. Nino, what up, Nino? Don't even play Dynasty. Still found my way chilling alive. Oh, well, welcome. Welcome. Appreciate you. Hit that subscribe. Come by anytime. And listen, we do redraft as well. Tuesday night is just a night we kind of specifically have our Dynasty show. But, I'm answering redraft as well. So we can talk redraft in here also. So just throw whatever you got in the chat and, just specify, of course, if it's redraft or Dynasty. This way I can answer it properly for you. Johnny D, what up, Johnny? Steve, what's the move with Devontae? Man, I hate Devontae right now. In a 10-team PPR, thinking long term. All right, so we're talking Dynasty, Johnny. 10-team. I don't really have a lot of interest in Devontae Adams. If I have him, I'm trying to move him, trying to put him in some kind of package to tier up at that position. Do I take a flyer on him? Thanks, man. No. So if you're talking just startup here, especially startup, I'm not wasting my pick on a guy like Devontae Adams. I want somebody that can gain some value or at least has some value. Devontae's not going to have a lot of value. Now, if it's shallow enough, and how many starters is it, Johnny? Because if it's shallow enough where like you're able to still get, 2 or 3 stud wide receivers, and Devontae's like your wide receiver 3, 4, like I'm okay with taking them there, So depending on the format, like that really matters here. So, how many starters is it? Just so I can kind of get a grasp on that. I don't play Dynasty. I always listening to these lives. Well, I appreciate you, Johnny. Appreciate you. Well, what are you just starting Dynasty right now? Is that what your question was coming from? Jackson said team is QB, Josh Allen, CMC, HN, Singletary, and Najee. HN, Singletary, Najee, CMC. Okay. Josh Allen at QB. Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, Godwin, Addison, another Godwin. Amari Polk, tight ends go there with Jets D and Jake Elliott. Okay, now I don't love the tight end spot. Like, I don't love the go dirt pick. After like Jake Ferguson, I'm very, very sketchy on the tight ends there. So yeah, I'm worried about the tight end position a little bit, especially redraft this year. Like, I'm more kind of hammering the running backs early, waiting on QB. Like I mentioned before, my favorite thing to do in redraft is kind of wait on QB, grab a Jaden Daniels late in that 8th, 9th round, and then follow that up with like a Tua or a Golf. This way you can play it safe, but at least you've got that top 5 upside and you're still able to get elite players early on and not have to waste, waste an early pick on a quarterback. You can use that on a wide receiver or a tight end. I'm very much into, getting some of the elite running backs if you can, and an elite tight end in redraft this year. There's a lot of wide receivers that you can play with. There's a lot of depth at wide receiver that you can kind of take advantage of in your strategy, depending, of course, on the format, right? Is it 10 team? Is it 12 team? How many starters is it? I had the 111. Dub said Marvin Harrison went number 1. Bowers went number 2. Had to make a move to number 3 for Neighbors. Okay, awesome. So you moved up to get Neighbors. I mean, awesome. That's what you want to do. You want to get one of those elite players, especially in that particular format where it's 1 QB. After like the 1-3 in rookie drafts, like those picks aren't as valuable because typically 1 QB leagues are a little bit shallower. They're not as deep. So, you need some of those elite players from the drafts. And if they're not one of those top elite players, they're kind of just replaceable. Appreciate you, Nino. I did 2 trades in my redraft league. Okay, so you're popping off redraft trades already. I love it. Any thoughts on both or either? Traded Canine and Palmer for Neighbors and Ford. Well, love that trade. I'm fine going from Canine to Ford if I'm going from Palmer to Neighbors. Now, I do think Palmer is going a little bit underrated this particular year. For sure, like he's a value in drafts. He probably is going to be the number 1 wide receiver for that team, other than McConkey, right? We're all hoping that McConkey is, or we're suggesting that McConkey is going to be that number 1 guy, but there's a chance it might be Palmer. There's a chance Palmer is one of the leading wide receivers on that team. Philip gifting the membership as always. Appreciate you, Philip. You the man. So I do like the trade. I like the upside with Neighbors. Obviously, he's way more of an elite type wide receiver than Palmer. And, Canine I like as well. I think he's a decent value, but, there's a chance he's just an RB2, which is just replaceable. And Ford, I'm absolutely fine with replacing that with Ford when you're getting Neighbors. So I like that one. Next one, traded Kirk and Jaden Daniels. Christian Kirk and Jaden Daniels for Rashee Rice and Chase Brown. Rashee Rice and Chase Brown. I'm fine with, with Chase Brown as like a RB2 flex if you've got a hero RB1. And I love getting Rashid, but you're giving up Jaden Daniels. Who's your QB? Did you put who your QB was? Did I miss that? Yeah, who's your QB, Nino? Oh, Mahomes and Stafford. So yeah, so you don't need Jaden Daniels when you've got a Mahomes there. So I don't know how much more of an upgrade though Rashee Rice is from Christian Kirk. Like I think Christian Kirk is very under the radar. He was if I'm not mistaken, wide receiver 1 2 years ago when they didn't have Calvin Ridley. And he was, emerging as the guy last year as well, even with Calvin Ridley there. So, see, I don't know if I love that trade. I think you could maybe do something else with it, but I don't hate it either. It's just a very lateral. I mean, you're getting an extra running back. You don't need Jaden Daniels. He's just kind of an extra piece. So, I mean, I'm okay with it, but I don't love it. So your squad is Mahomes, Stafford, Gibbs, JT, 4. Okay, so you got Gibbs and JT. Chase Brown, Gus, Rice, Pickens, Neighbors, Godwin, Deontay, Kelsey. Okay, I like that. Now, can you combine 2 other guys to get a more elite wide receiver? Like, can you get creative a little bit? Do a little 2 for 1 or something? See who needs an extra wide receiver out there. What's up, Brian? Steve, is Jaden Daniels a sneaky pick? I keep seeing his name pop up more and more. Yeah, well, actually, I put the Instagram in the chat. Make sure you guys are following on Instagram. I'm actually posting something tomorrow about Jaden Daniels, and I talked about him a little bit earlier on the stream. He's one of my absolute favorite picks to wait on quarterback and grab a Jaden Daniels late, follow it up with like a Tua or a Jared Goff or Trevor Lawrence, one of those guys that's going to throw for, 4,500-ish yards, 30 touchdowns, is going to be top 12-ish. But you have that top 5 upside with Jaden Daniels. And if shit hits the fan, if shit goes wrong, you at least have, a decent guy that you can put in there at quarterback. And, those guys are not going to win you weeks, but they're not necessarily going to lose you weeks either. So that is one of my favorite strategies this year. Jaden Daniels late, follow it up with one of those other QBs. Because that means you don't have to waste a pick early. That means you can grab another, elite or close to elite wide receiver or running back. You can make sure you grab an elite tight end, right? Because you have the extra pick there now. So yeah, so I like it a lot. That's one of my favorite things to do, and I will, send that post out tomorrow. So if you're following on Instagram, you'll see that tomorrow. But yeah, I feel like especially this year, especially in the back end of the first round, like to snag up like two running backs or go like double hero RB at the back end of the first round, and then follow that up with a wide receiver, a quarterback, a tight end, get an elite quarterback, get an elite tight end. You've got or wait on the quarterback if you want also. Like there's a bunch of different ways that you can do it. So you can go running back, wide receiver, one of the top tight ends. And then wait on quarterback. Or like I said, go double RB early, grab a top wide receiver, grab a top tight end, grab a top quarterback, and then fill out the rest of your wide receivers. I feel like that's a good strategy this year, especially at the back end of the first. I think AJ Brown is a great value at the back end of the first as well. And now you see like some of the running backs are starting to creep up, like Derrick Henry, like his ADP is rising. Achans is falling, like as we're getting closer and closer. So, we're here now. It's time. Like I said, I've got one more redraft to go. I think people are very, very more antsy nowadays, and people don't want to wait. So I think people are drafting a lot earlier now than we have in the past for redraft, at least. Dynasty is kind of all year. You'll have dynasty startups right after the season. You'll have dynasty startups in the off season where nothing's going on. You'll have dynasty startups going on when the rookie drafts are going on or when the NFL draft is going on. You got dynasty startups going on now, and as we get closer to the season, so that never stops. But I feel like redraft has been a little bit earlier, particularly this year, than it has in the past. Got my work redraft this Sunday. Yeah, a lot of work leagues out there now as well. A lot of work leagues that'll be drafting soon, because a lot of those leagues are like, they're more like some of your home leagues. Like you're drafting really, really close to the season, especially like in some of my home leagues where we're used to drafting sometimes a redraft that fourth week of the preseason or after that third week because, we're afraid of injuries and stuff happening. But now, I mean, you got a shortened preseason. They're only doing 3 games now. And a lot of the starters just don't play a lot at all now. So, I feel like the injury risk is a little bit less now. And so, we don't want to wait. I mean, football's back. So, And let me get the Discord link. Discord link I'm putting in the chat as well. So hop in the Discord. It's a free Discord. We're talking Dynasty pretty much every single day. And as we get to the regular season, I'll put in a start sit section. So even if you don't play Dynasty and you play redraft, you can have your start sit questions answered. If you can't catch me live, you can hit it in the chat and people will answer you or give you at least advice, opinions. And you can also start to just learn Dynasty, start learning about how we kind of think a little bit in Dynasty. So even if you don't play Dynasty, like hop in because we're talking redraft as well. What's your opinion on Trey Benson? RB16 on keep trade cut seems high. Could rise if Connor is out in 2025. Well, for a running back, it doesn't take much to get into the top 12 right now. There's not a lot of those workhorse running backs nowadays. So if we're looking at Trey Benson, let me pull it up here. Let's pull up keep trade cut. Some guys behind him. Now I'm taking Derrick Henry over Trey Benson. I'm just taking the production that Derrick Henry is going to give me. I mean, I know Trey Benson is so much younger, but he's a running back, right? We don't know how long these guys are going to last, right? The chances that some of these young guys last 6-7 years at like top 5, top 10 production are very, very slim. We've only seen 2 top 5 seasons from a guy like Saquon Barkley, but we still consider him, elite because he actually is a 3-down back getting all the work. There's not a lot of those guys nowadays. Is Trey Benson going to be one of those guys? Possibly, right? Connor, I'm pretty sure he's on the last year of his deal. So do they re-sign him next year? Or if Connor goes down, which he, has in the past multiple times, does Trey Benson step in? Can he be some kind of a league winner this year? I mean, of course, absolutely. If the opportunity presents itself, we see that all the time, right? We saw that last year with, Zach Moss, Jerome Ford, some of these guys, after injuries happen, that these guys are able to step up. So yeah, I think his value is definitely will rise probably more towards the second half of the season. I think they'll probably get him a little more acclimated in the second half or after at least the first few games. And again, especially if Connor goes down, you'll see some more of Trey Benson. But he's on a pretty good offense now, right? Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride. You've got a decent offense, so you're going to see, more scoring opportunities, maybe more opportunities at the goal line, right? Is he the guy in the backfield at the goal line? So, there's a lot of good that can happen for Trey Benson. So yeah, I think he can absolutely move up. I can see him jumping up, over a Josh Jacobs because of age and just maybe Jacobs just not finishing as an RB1. So he can easily get into the top 12, if he winds up producing this season and if Connor, obviously gets out of there. So for sure. I've got Benson in a few places. I did like Brooks better. The NFL liked Brooks better, obviously, as he was taken way earlier. And Jonathan Brooks, I mean, coming into the season off of an injury is a top 12 running back in Dynasty. So that kind of tells you a lot right there. It doesn't take much to get into the top 12. There's just not a ton of, elite running backs that are getting all of the opportunities. Achane is RB6 right now, but he's, he doesn't get the majority of the work there, right? Kyron Williams, I mean, he's putting up production, but can he stay healthy? Saquon is old. right? But he's still doing it. I mean, and then you've got a bunch of like question mark, a bunch of guys that have some upside, good running backs, but more RB2s, haven't finished as RB1s really. When you're talking about like K9, Pacheco, James Cook, Rashard White did it last year. He might do it again this year, but there's just no competition. Like I love the value of Rashard White right now. Can I move from a Achane, Etienne, Kyron Williams to a Rashard White in a first somehow? Right? Can I get creative and get a first back on top? Move down to a Rashard White type. Move down to a Derrick Henry type. I mean, Derrick Henry's got what, 1-2 years left? I mean, what's the guarantee any of these other running backs have more than 1 or 2 years left? Like, really? Other than the Bijan, Breeses, and Gibbs and JT's, obviously, because he's got the contract. But, all of these guys, you can kind of really only project at 1 to 2 years at elite production, at least. Right? I know Derrick Henry's old, but I know he's going to give me elite production. James Cook is young, but is he giving me elite production? Is he giving me difference maker production at that position? No. Right? Same with Pacheco. Same with Kenneth Walker. So I don't care, how old Henry is. Like, I'll still take him over some of these young guys. And, you want some of these young guys? Absolutely. Like, give me the first round pick on top of it. I'm more than happy to tear down, pick up the asset, and bank the first round pick. And now what can I do with the first round pick? Like, where else can I tear up, right? We're always looking for edges. We're always looking for assets that we can move to make our team better. Counting redrafts and dynasties, how many rosters do you normally keep up with every year? And what's your cutoff amount? I think right now I'm at 14 or 13. I think I'm at 14. No, 15 actually. 15 combined redraft and dynasty. I think I've got 11 dynasty and then 4 redraft right now. I don't like to play a lot of redraft. I play in 2 home league redrafts, and then I'm doing one redraft where it's like a battle of the brands. It's a couple different brands that are out there. And then I'm doing one free one, which is the Wafers League. I was in 2 of those last year, made both championships. Wound up winning one and won a cool hoodie from Wafers. So I'm back in that tournament, in the Wafers tournament. So we'll see what I can win this year. But that league's free, so that's why I wound up doing that one. So I do 4 redrafts, and that's kind of my cutoff for redraft. Like, I don't love doing a bunch of redrafts. Like, I love doing dynasty. That's what I love to do. And I enjoy that a little bit more. But it's not too crazy to keep up with at this point. I mean, my cutoff would probably be like 20 dynasties. That'll probably be my cutoff. I don't know if I could go much more than that, because it is hard to kind of keep up with that, make all the roster moves, and keep up with all that. So it's tough. Athlete, what up? Thoughts on Zeke for this year? Haven't had a rookie draft yet, getting offered 211 and Zeke for the 208. Zeke would be RB4 for me. I mean, you haven't had the rookie draft yet, so that's going to be a deal that will be on the clock when it happens. Now, I'm not going to – I would say don't make the move right now, because that offer is going to be on the table when you're – as you're drafting. So we don't know who's going to be there at the 208. You never know if somebody good falls there, and you might rather have them than, the 211 and Zeke. Zeke is okay. I think he has a little bit left in the tank, but realistically, like, he's most likely not going to be any type of RB1. So that means his production is basically replaceable. So, I wouldn't make the move yet. I'm fine with doing it on the clock. If, nobody significant falls, I'm okay with doing that. But like at the 2-8, like if I can get, a Jalen Wright at the 2-8, like I'd much rather have Jalen Wright than Zeke in the 211. You know what I mean? So I would just wait on that. And you might even get a better offer on the clock, because people like certain players. And if there's a certain guy there somebody might be willing to move up and give up more than that particular offer. So just hold off on that, and wait till you're on the clock to do that. And it's a super flex. I mean, it's a start 8, so it's relatively shallow. So yeah, I mean, I'm not really trying to get a Zeke in a start 8. Like I said, I'd rather just wait and see if you can snag like a Jalen Wright, Blake Corum. I don't know how late those guys are going to fall in your particular draft, but I'd rather take any of those running backs. Now, if Jalen Wright and Corum and Lloyd, like if all those guys are available at the 2-8, then yeah, I'm okay with moving back 3 slots and just taking any kind of plus on top of it. I'd probably rather like a third or a fourth even rather than Zeke, but Goku, what up? Goku said he's at 21. I'm done feeling burnt out with trades. Yeah, I mean 21's a lot. Like that's a lot. I'm comfortable where I'm at now, and I'm only adding one every single year, if even that, just because of where I'm at with how many teams I have. So, I've kind of at least put a stop to it or tried to control it a little bit where it's only one that I'm going to do every year, I think, from now on, for Dynasty at least. And you got to stop at some point, right? So, and you never know when some leagues fold and those kind of things happen. But Goku said, thanks to the Discord, I have been killing it. Thanks to you and all the guys over there. Appreciate you, Goku. So yeah, guys, hop in the Discord. Like there's a lot of good information. Like I said, whether you play Dynasty or not, there's just a lot of conversations that happen. There's a lot of different opinions and strategies, that can help you and help you become a better Dynasty player, and better with strategy, give you at least an edge in your league, be able to gain assets, buy certain players. Why should you do this? Why should you do that? We talk a lot more strategy than, this player or that player, because that's more important, right? The more value that we have on our teams, the easier it is to shape the team into how you want to do it. Right. It's all just it's all currency. Right. And where does that currency lie? If it's stuck in the running back position, right, and one of those guys get injured, now all that value is kind of nuked. So can we shift that value over to wide receiver? This is why, I don't particularly love running backs in Dynasty, depending on the format, of course, but you want to build around the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. They're the most valuable. They last the longest. And like I said, you can turn a wide receiver into a few running backs when you need to, when the time is right. But, having that value in the draft picks and, the 3rd round picks, the 4th round picks, I mean, those picks matter. And it's not about, who you're going to pick at that pick. It's just about the value in general. Can you throw a bunch at somebody? Can you buy a running back can you buy a running back when you're on the playoff run? Right. And you have some injuries, can you buy a running back with that 3rd round pick for that particular week? Like that can win you a week. So those things, those are more important than a lot of people think. Nino said thoughts on Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, he was my wide receiver 4 coming out of the draft. He went to a good spot. He's with a young quarterback. He's got a chance to grow. He's not being thought of as the number 1 guy right off the bat. You've got veterans there like Ingram and Christian Kirk. So you've got other guys that can kind of take the pressure off of you. So you can now just kind of learn and do your thing. So I love Brian Thomas, especially for the long run. For this particular season, like I do think Christian Kirk is the wide receiver 1 there for this year. But I think, Brian Thomas is going to grow into that wide receiver 1 role over time. So yeah, I like Brian Thomas Jr. I think he'll catch a lot of deep passes. And that's kind of what they need, right? Brian Thomas Jr. on the outside. Christian Kirk can move inside, outside, more underneath, more intermediate. And then you've got Brian Thomas Jr. that can kind of, take it over the top. But yeah, the Discord is big. We're trying to grow the Discord. I think we've got like over 60 in there right now. But yeah, we're trying to grow the Discord. Just a lot of good information. And if I can't answer you, like at least somebody else will. It's hard for me to answer everybody right now, but I try to when I can. All the information is free. Like I don't charge anybody for anything. I am working on the Patreon right now where I will have like a paid membership where you can get more of that one-on-one advice as we keep growing. But right now we're just kind of, growing the community, having fun, having some of these conversations and just helping people get better, helping people, make their dynasty teams better so that we can win championships. Rashid seems to be a little bit polarizing. Would you take Jacobs in a second over him? Yeah, I'll take Jacobs in a second. You're getting another running back that does have some upside. And you're getting a second. So, like, what can you do with the second? But hold on. Let me go back to this. This is a 12-team super flex. It is a start 8. So, like, it is relatively very, very shallow. But I'd be okay with taking the chance on Jacobs because you kind of want the hammers, right? You want in a start 8 where it's shallow, like you want some of those elite players. And I wouldn't consider, Rashard White elite, but he can finish as like, top 5, top 7 with that pass catching upside. The second isn't as valuable because the league is so shallow. If it was like a start 10 or maybe even a start 9, like I'd smash the Jacobson second side, but that's a tough one. Like I'm okay either way almost. And I do feel like Jacobs is going to get a ton of work. So like if you believe in Jacobs, like just take it, but more importantly, like what can you do with that second in your particular league? Like do people value that second? Can you trade that for something? Can you add that in some sort of package to tier up, right? Yeah, CMC, Saquon, and Rashard. So yeah, I mean, you know, I wouldn't even do that really. Like if you've got my bad, if you got CMC and Saquon, like can you just move Rashard White in some kind of package to upgrade at wide receiver or tight end or quarterback or something like that? Because I don't want to have CMC, Saquon, and like Josh Jacobs or Rashard White. We were just talking about value. I want to transfer that value now to another position. So can I tier up somewhere else instead of just kind of tearing down from Rashard White, getting the second and Jacobs? I'd rather fill the bench with, backup running backs or guys like Jerome Ford, Zach Moss, Chase Brown. Like I'd rather have some of those guys as my third running backs. Because you got, two studs with CMC and Saquon. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Is I'd look to maybe upgrade another position instead of just kind of tearing down now the more that I think about it. So good info. Thanks. Appreciate you, athlete. Appreciate you hopping on. But yeah, throw any questions you guys have in the chat. I'll probably be on for just a few more. So before I go, make sure you guys throw any questions you have in the chat. Appreciate everybody coming out. Smash that like, smash the subscribe if you're new. But we are on, every Tuesday night at 10 Eastern. We do the Dynasty Show. I'm solo tonight, but usually got a partner with me, and we're talking, Dynasty or some kind of strategy and players. But we will be on also Saturday nights to answer start-sit questions, for redraft leagues. So we'll probably be on, 2 to 3 times a week to answer all, redraft questions and start sits and dynasty questions and dynasty trades. But yeah, look in the chat. Check the link for the Instagram, and the link for the Discord is in the chat. So scroll through the chat, find those 2 links. Hop in there. But yeah, let me get up out of here. I appreciate everybody again for coming out. And I'll see y'all next week.